Come and get started on a new mission, a new direction, a new intention. Welcome to 5.8G Alive at Connections 50 Plus. I am Terry-Ann Joseph Brathwaite.
And I am Jennifer Gibbons Joseph, catering to all your prospects in the third act of life.
Economic well-being, social gratification, personal fulfillment.
Join us on Wednesday at 6 p.m. on Connections 50 Plus Facebook page, YouTube channel,
and on Gael the Caribbean. Good evening, 5.8G Tribe. Welcome to 5.8G Alive. I am Terry-Ann Joseph Brathwaite, one of the co-creators of Connections 50 Plus. With me as usual.
Hi, good evening. I'm Jennifer Gibbons Joseph, the other co-creator of Connections 50 Plus. Welcome.
Well, listen, we have just finished 2 episodes, 2 installations of our Road to Corpus Christi gardening, and we explored, Jennifer, the whole exploration of ornamentals and stuff. Have me saying, yes, I could focus on the ornamentals, and I've actually done some work, seeing some progress. So
that's good.
Yeah, we had, and I love your setting. I mean, Jennifer just showing off, and she just showing off.
Thank you. I think every week I'll bring out some new plants.
No, really, it looks fantastic. And I brought out my one of the plants that I resurrected. So
it's good.
Every week you'll see a different one. And the one that I had last week, it's still living. It is doing well. But today we are starting a series that we want to really call a masterclass. Because we hinted before that we're going to have Karl Burgess on as our guest for the next 3 programs. And we are really getting into the nitty-gritty of how to become successful gardeners. Jennifer, what do you think about what we have in store?
I'm all excited because I love my plants. I like gardening.
So just to give you a sense of the road that we are on. So we have our ornamentals, we have a sense of plants, types of plants, and so on. Yeah. And where we are going with the next couple of shows would be really looking at gardening. So it's not only for the kitchen and vegetable gardening, it will be for all gardening. And the first part of our program, we're going to be really looking at gardening in general and what it really takes to be successful at gardening. And then the second show is going to look at the issue of soil. Soil and all the mistakes we make with soil that really hampers a successful garden. And in our last show, which will be just before the Corpus Christi weekend, we are going to dive into choosing plants, planting, and harvesting. So
some sort of garden.
So let's, without further ado, have you meet our guest, Karl Burgess, and let's get gardening. Okay, everyone. So we're back on our gardening series, and a lot of you may have heard about our guest and you've never seen him, but Jennifer and I are so really excited to have Karl Burgess on to this second half of our series on gardening. We've learned so much about ornamentals and horticulture and pretty plants. Even I showing up with a pretty plant here. But now we're getting into the meat of Jennifer, would you say the more technical aspects and competency of gardening?
Definitely. You know, before there are many gardeners like myself that we like to see nice plants and we plant, but we really don't know all the behind the scene things, exactly what soil should consist of, if we wet in too often, etc., etc. So I am looking forward for this second half where I could really learn more, about all the different aspects of gardening. So thank you, Karl, again for joining us.
So without much ado, we want to introduce Karl Burgess to our listening audience. And Karl, for those who don't know who Karl Burgess is and why we're making this big deal about it, and why Wilma last week was saying, you are coming, introduce us. Tell us about yourself and your involvement in gardening.
Okay, I think I got into gardening maybe naturally. I remember since I was small, very small, right? I always encouraged my parents and brothers and sisters to do some form of gardening. Even my aunt and my cousins who live in Fort Lauderdale, etc., right, or in Arizona, they always tell me about, you always telling us to plant something, right? This is about 3, 4, 5 years of age, huh?
Wow.
Okay, so I remember on one occasion where we used to live, we had a little garden. So everybody had we planted corn. The 4 of us, everybody planted a corn. No, corn. Right? Everybody planted a corn plant. And mommy said, you all know your corn plants, when it bears, right? Whatever you get from it, that is yours. Okay, so we all planted corn. So the corn came up pretty good. Maya had a very large corn. Right? So when we started to husk it, right? My brothers Keith and Karen and Kathleen, you know what I mean? Their corn was full. So I waited for last because mine is the biggest corn, right? And I'm the eldest, right? When I finished husking my corn, it only had about 4 grains, right?
I could relate to that. Yeah.
And then I remember And now I understand when they say eat what you grow. So I had to eat what I grew. Right? Anyway, and I got into agriculture. I think I just like being on the outside. So I did my first degree at the University of the West Indies in agriculture, general agriculture. And then I went on to work with the Ministry of Agriculture at Centennial.
Mhm.
While there, I think because of my performance, I got a scholarship. And that took me to the University of London, where I did my master's basically in horticulture. And that
Okay.
year and a half was a good year because every Wednesday, right, we used to go to a different garden in England. So I've seen a lot of gardens in England.
Beautiful
Right? And
gardens.
Kew is the one that stands out to me the most.
Mm.
Okay.
Yeah.
I always like anytime I go to England, last twice, I must go to Kew Gardens. Okay.
Mm.
And the importance of the course was that on one occasion he spent a weekend in France, right?
Mm.
And he went to Versailles, which is just outside Paris, and another one in the middle of the France, which is in the Loire Valley, which is basically a wine growing area,
Mm.
right? But I always tell anybody, if ever you go to France, go to Versailles, because that was built somewhere around in Louis XIV time, right? And it still stands up today, right? I came back home, I worked with the botanic gardens for a while.
Mm.
And I think in life we all searching for something. So in that year, when I think was NER was in power, they had the VTEP. So I looked at myself and I said, let me take the VTEP, and I left the ministry. And in searching, I entered the monastery. So I spent about 5 years up at Mount St. Benedict, looking at the life really, monastic life. Mhm. Before that, let me go back a little bit. When I was in England, I also took the opportunity to go to Europe because it's cheaper to go from England and Trinidad,
Mhm.
right? So I did a 3 months backpacking tour throughout Europe, all of Western Europe, all right? France, Germany, Belgium, Spain, Portugal, all of Western Europe.
Mm.
And then after that, I had a friend of mine, his little brother was in India. So after the 3 months in Europe, I spent about 6 weeks in India, right? Again, backpacking, right? So in those days, Air India had a program, a travel tour, where you could visit anywhere in 21 days. I think we went about 12 different cities in 21 days,
Yes.
right? Either based in Chennai, I just call it Madras then.
Mhm.
And from there, we went up to Delhi for the Christmas. And from Delhi, we went down to Srinagar, which is up in the Himalayas. So we spent the Christmas in Himalayas, right? And back down, went through like the Rajasthan provinces, Jaipur and Jodhpur, and down on the western coast with Goa and Cochin, several areas, right?
Mm.
Then came back, worked out the service because of a scholarship. And then after that, went up to Mount St. Benedict and spent about 5 years there. Then came back out. I worked at La Vega for quite a while, for about 2 years when they were now setting up everything.
Okay.
And then after that, I went on my own, doing my own landscaping. And then I got a job at invitation rather to do the PCS model farm. The company was doing what they call corporate social responsibility. So one of the things the managing director was interested in was in agriculture. So he called me in to start up the farm. So the farm was 30 hectares, about 75 acres, from nothing to where it is now.
Mm.
Okay. So, during those years, you did some traveling. For example, you went to look at universities, 3 universities. You visited Mississippi, I think it was South Carolina and Florida, to look at how they did agriculture, to help develop the farm itself. Okay. Now, throughout all of this, I always enjoy landscaping.
Wait, before you do
So,
that, and I think this experience with the model farm is important.
Yeah.
What was the purpose, the vision of doing that model farm for Trinidad and Tobago? I know it was a company's corporate social responsibility, but what was supposed to happen?
One of the things was to introduce farmers to new and improved techniques in agriculture. Very simply how they can do it, so they can improve the performance on their particular farms. Okay. Also to is with them, and it was a demonstration farm. So if somebody comes to do a course or a program, you do the theory in the classroom, and then either the same day or following day, we'll follow it up on the outside. This is how you plow the land. Right? This is how you
And I have a picture up of that model farm.
Yeah, okay. So that is just basically a panoramic view of the whole farm itself.
Okay.
Okay, the whole 75 acres. And one corner you see a lot of green dots, that is like basically trees. So it was both vegetables, fruit crops, greenhouses, etc., that people could come and learn to do something. Going back, and this one is just another close-up of the buildings themselves. The blue on the left-hand side would be, on my left-hand side, would be like the storage rooms for the workers.
With the blue roofs.
The blue roofs, the ones in the center, as you cross the road, those will be the greenhouses. And the one with the green roof, that is where the training center was, with the parking facilities, the security booth is the red and white roof.
Nice.
And the other two buildings down to the back, that one would be like the packing house, so how to pack things properly.
Oh, okay.
And then there's another one with tractor shed, etc. This was interesting because what happened is that they were going to do some work on the farm at the time, right?
Yeah.
And they had what a man live, right? So I said, now is a good time to go up on the man lift and take pictures of the whole place itself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I asked that question because as people would know, I've always been very interested in vegetable gardening, and I have a little anecdote which I have to knock you for a little bit, because the programs that were run by the model farm, I think a lot of our amateur wannabe vegetable gardeners as well as professional gardeners really look forward to trying to get into a cycle of this training program to really understand. And I think it contributed to the professionalizing, might be too strict a word, but to making people more serious about gardening. And I want to take this opportunity to thank you for doing that for us.
You're welcome. You know, I think I look at it not only from a
I was about to ask too, Karl, during that period, how many, you have what you would call the country farmers, those who grew up farming and using the traditional methods. And of course, with what you are doing, is changing that and introducing them to a more scientific type method. How many were you able to get, let's say at least, I would say 75% of those farmers to come on board and really appreciate what you all were doing?
I think many of them left with the idea of going to do something. They see it because they're seeing it very practical. And it's from the point of view of saying, when they look at it, I could do that home too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Very cost effective. I also try to push them towards a business point of view. So not only a backyard gardening, but your backyard can make money for you down the road.
Yeah.
Right? There's one guy in particular, I still help him up to now. He has Anthony, he has his farm, he has 17 acres in Vancouver. And we are working right now on a mango museum. So we have about 32 different varieties of mangoes actually in the ground, which is about, I would say about 6 feet tall, right? And hoping the next maybe 5 to 7 years from now, they grow and they bear fruit, and it's a business, right? They're not only coming to look at it, but also as a business. There are other guys who actually did some work and started this, their businesses on, like in green, one guy, he started his greenhouses Another guy with his sweet potatoes and things like that, he got into it. So it was a kind of awakening from several angles.
Yeah.
So for
Okay.
example, you come to see potatoes, sweet potatoes, right? So you hear about sweet potatoes, you see how sweet potatoes grow, but then there are different varieties. And then you bring people into the whole health aspect of it. From the point of view of,
Yeah.
okay, do you know that the orange color varieties or the purple color varieties have more anthocyanins, beta carotenes, etc., more fiber, which is better for you, healthier for you than a white potato, right? The same thing with the breadfruit. Okay, these are the ingredients. I'm going to use the word ingredients in a breadfruit. You know, the potassium, the fiber, the glycemic index, things like that. So once you get that realizing that is happening in these local, our local produce, it took off.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I can see that.
And I know you all did something in particular with breadfruit. What was that about?
That breadfruit was basically, at that time, they had a group called TABA, Trinidad and Tobago Agribusiness Association. And they were getting into the processing of products. So they asked us to grow breadfruit. So we put down about 3 hectares or 10 acres of breadfruit.
Yeah.
Okay. And again, it should come back to part of management, and planning is important. When we got the breadfruit plans from the ministry, I did go to them. I asked them, "You all have breadfruit?" They said yes. "You all have yellow breadfruit?" They said yes. "Do you have the large yellow?" They said yes. And when we bought the plants, about 3 years after, when it started to be about 75 to 80% of the field was a small breadfruit, which is the Maafala, right? So the marketing strategy now had to change. Because when you tell people I have a breadfruit, I remember going to the grocery and telling them we have breadfruit. And when I brought in these little things like this, like a cricket ball, you know what I mean? They started to laugh and say, you know, is that a breadfruit? It's green, etc. But it's just a different variety. So we had to sell it under Maafala name rather than sell it under breadfruit.
Okay.
Yeah. You know, Jennifer, we talk a lot and sometimes it's debate. We look at our food import bill. We complain about the price of things in the grocery. We complain that when we bring produce in, it spoils and it can't stop. And we wonder sometimes, and when we were planning this, we had Karl and Jennifer sitting in our garden and we were saying, why don't people just understand that the solution is gardening? And from just a little that we said, there is so much opportunity that has been presented for everyone. Oh, I forgot to say, in spite of how many times, Jennifer, I registered to get into Karl's course, every time I register, the course full and never get in. And I think this is the answer to my question. I never get it. They will advertise.
They give priority to serious gardeners.
They will advertise everybody. They will advertise it, and Jennifer, like,
yeah, but the response is really good to know that they had very good response.
So, you know, my thing is that there has been opportunity for people to learn about gardening and to be able to see what's to do right. And why then are we in the position that we're in now with such a high food import bill and so many people not into kitchen gardening? I'm not talking agriculture here, because agriculture, you need land and tractor and stuff. Kitchen gardening to supplement. Why are we not there?
I believe that people, they really don't put agriculture or farming or kitchen gardening or home gardening on their priority listing. Right? It's cheaper maybe for them to go down the road and buy a pack of seasoning or a bottle of seasoning, right? Without recognizing that it's more important to use a fresh seasoning, right? You go to the back of your house, you pick a little celery, you pick a little chive, a thyme, etc., and you use that. Rather than using something from a bottle, which is basically colors and preservatives and chemicals. Yeah? So they have to understand, you have to kind of let them know that this is more healthier for you. You wouldn't have to be going by the doctor so often. Also, too, it's therapeutic. It helps you relax in the afternoons. And that's how I learned it, because I remember I was living in San Fernando and working in Port of Spain, Botanic Gardens. Every time I reach home in the afternoons, I find out, Mommy said, Carl, why are you so irritable? And then I say, okay, I know what I'll do. So when I come home, before I enter the house, I'll go and walk around the yard, pull out some weeds, pot some plants, kind of thaw out yourself before you get into the house. Right? Because you come in with the burdens of meetings and timing and traffic, a whole sort of things. So having a kitchen garden helps you to thaw out and helps you to keep calm. I remember also at one of the universities in Florida, they were very close to a prison. And the prisoners were the ones who were working in the garden because they prefer the outdoors rather than living in a gated community, right? And so they'll come out when they will work in the gardens, they will get paid for it, they'll go towards their things, they'll also get a certificate, right? So when they come out, at least they have a skill to do something. And most of them prefer to come out and work in the sunlight or in the cool, the outside. Outdoors has something about it, which you don't really find in an office or office setting, or even like in a gym. You know, the Japanese have a thing they call it forest bathing, where you actually walk through a forested area and you feel cool. That's why when I did the design, I helped with the design for the building for the model farm, right? My main window was outside. So you see how many birds and trees, you know, life is there with you as you go along. Yeah. So people have to really make an effort and come out and do something. It might just
And
be
here
an
we
hour.
could, it's equally kitchen, vegetable, and ornamental gardens. Just a garden,
Yeah,
being
right. Even
outside,
though
it
you live
doesn't
in a
matter.
even though you live in a condominium, you know what I mean? Instead of having ornamentals in your home, you can have those plants with rosemary and parsley and thyme, etc. in as your garden, right? So you want something, just go by the corner, just the building, the room, and just take off a piece of celery or chive, or to put it on your meat. If somebody come, you know, somebody coming with a little piece of celery on top of the meat, fresh celery, you know. We have to make a concerted effort to really get into it. The bigger picture is, yeah.
No, finish your, because what I'm going to refer to why people may not be interested in gardening in spite of the health benefits. So that just came to me, but I'd like you to finish what you said.
No, what I'm going to say is that that's at a home level, but if you come to agriculture at the agricultural level, farmers 10 acres, 100 acres, etc., that's a whole different ball game.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I like gardening. I grew up with my family, my parents always have a backyard, as we say, a backyard garden, but that was because of the
Necessity.
we can afford anything. You had to plant your own food. It was not an option, and we grew up with that. But there is a myth there that gardening is so much hard work. You're out in the sun, and you have to deal with a lot of the insects eating the plants, etc., etc. And those are from people who have never even tried it. And so they may be still thinking that, oh God, that's too much hard work. You're coming out in the sun, etc. But if, again, they appreciate, and that's why we're doing this show too, the fact that, it is relaxing. And not just that food bill now. If you weren't interested before, I think really now, and the fact that everything is so commercialized that even before, I know, of course, we go on, we made our own seasoning, right? You pick it and make your own bottle seasoning. But it's so easy to go, and people find it busy and they don't have time to buy it. But when you realize now what is in that bottle, what they have to be preservatives, that's not good for your health. Maybe being aware of these things may have more of us looking at doing a little, a kitchen garden.
I think people need, if people look to take a little time instead of just picking up something in the grocery supermarket and reading it and relating it back to your life, right? Then they would say, I should really try and grow my own seasoning. Right?
Yes, I agree.
I was in the supermarket and I looked at some of the bottles, and some of them have like a blue dye and a green dye just to give it color. Now, when you drink blue dye or green dye, what is going to happen to you?
Yeah.
Okay? So let me.
And we like to put plenty seasoning on our meats and things.
You don't
so
need
it's
it.
a lot going into that.
Yeah. So you need to look at what is happening outside. Look at health. Look at your own personal health. And how could I improve my health? Not only a physical health, but also your mental health. Because I'm outside, the plants don't argue with you, they don't quarrel, right? You're getting free vitamin D, you don't have to buy a tablet. Okay? And see it from that perspective. You're cool, it might be a little warm, right? But think you're perspiring all the junk you put in. Okay?
Yeah.
So look at it holistically.
I would say from my experience this is sad that I'm going to say this now, From my experience in retail, you see that intelligent and apparently common sense view of how people make decisions. It is applicable. It's not at all applicable. People go down to dollars and cents. If that was not the case, we wouldn't have the plethora of fast foods that we have. And people don't instinctively talk about their health unless they have a chronic condition that puts them in the hospital. If what happened to mommy, happened to daddy, happened to granny, it didn't happen to me, so I get away, I will buy the cheapest option. And I think if you're not on that view, all you need to do is look at those ingredients and see the amount of starch. Because when you look at the list of ingredients, you will see what it is you're really buying. It's starch and flour and this paste and that paste and the actual seasonings. I mean, you're only using seasonings as an example. Comes in at number 8 or 9 of 12 ingredients. Let's not talk about ketchup that has no tomato. Okay, so you have a group of people that will be looking at my body, my health, and I truly believe that they are in the minority in our part of the world, and that's why we have the non-communicable diseases, the lifestyle diseases, the obesity, and everything like that. And they will, the dollar is it, and for food, expensive. Don't treat food like they treat clothes. They'll spend a ton of money on clothes and adornment and entertainment, but food could be the cheapest thing out, and therefore they don't look. So for those people, I will add.
Check the price and not the ingredients.
They check the price. But just look at the ingredients.
Look at the ingredients.
And understand what you're buying.
You pick up the 2 tins or 2 bottles and you look and you're checking price.
So, but if you have a little consciousness of what you're buying, you might make a little difference.
Alternative, you take up the containers and look at the salt content, right? Or look at the expiry date and ask yourself, this is 2024.
That is important.
And this is expiring in 2030. What they put in it, boy? You know, something have to be wrong. Okay.
So I think that covers all the views. And to add to that, I will just say sometimes the imported food we have, which is something that y'all would have heard me goofing about, food can stand up in the refrigerator for more than 3 days and then they start melting. So that's not supposed to be, but things that I plant gives me at least 5 or 6 days. So
but that is okay. That will come down to the fertilizing aspect of it.
And I know we'll get to that. But
Yeah.
I think at least we now
I'm
understand.
all excited about the fertilizing aspect.
I think we come down and we understand now at least why we should at least try to have
Make an effort,
something,
make an
Yeah.
effort,
you
and
know.
look at what you're
I
really
agree.
eating, and
Have-
ask yourself some serious questions.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
So let's get into the meat of it.
Yeah.
And I am the vegetable killer in this conversation. Jennifer is the, but let me say, and I don't know if I said it before, I've been inspired by Joan and Wilma, and I paid some attention, Jennifer, to my plants, and I put the soil
did.
and I watered them. And it's not that I wasn't watering the plants, people. I paid some attention and I fixed the soil and I do all kinds of stuff like that. And I'm feeling a little confident now. You see, look,
Yeah. No, that's the other part of it. You're confident, yes, but you have to have patience now because they're going to take some time.
I must say something too, and a little help at the side too.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah.
You know.
Oh, yes.
So sometimes if you can't do it all, you may have to get a little help.
Yeah, it depends on the age too.
Yeah.
Alright?
Well, we are dealing with our cohort. I think we need a little help.
All right.
Yeah.
So, Carl, let's get into the matter, and we are thinking your gardening now. And I think
Yeah.
a lot of what we talk about here can be applied across both the ornamentals as well as the kitchen garden.
Yeah,
even
of
though
course.
this
Yeah,
side is the
yeah,
kitchen
yeah.
garden.
Mhm.
So you say the first part is planning. I'm going to do kitchen gardening. Jennifer, like ornamentals, we see a plant down the road by the plant and we bring it home. Where's all this fuss about planning?
No, it's important to plan because in order for the plants to grow properly, they need a certain amount of sunlight.
Mhm,
Right? So vegetables, most vegetables, the flowering vegetables, you
mhm.
need at least about 4 to 6 hours sunlight. Okay? The non-flowering sun.
Let me get something straight.
Yeah.
We're dealing with information we have online, which
Mhm.
is all temperate. And we here at latitude 11,
Mhm.
that's 11 north of the equator.
Yeah.
This 6 hours, 4 hours of sunlight is temperate summer sunlight or hot sun Caribbean sunlight.
No, I would
Because
say,
I
I would
think
say, I
a
would say
3
it's
hours
our
here would be equivalent.
tropical sunlight, tropical sunlight.
Hot sun,
Okay? Hot
sun
sun.
overhead.
Sun overhead, that is what we have. So that's what we
No,
have to
no,
live
not at the
with.
side of the house, shade by the mango tree.
You know,
Again,
that's quite interesting, Carl. And I'm glad you have that because I'm thinking, I planted, let me tell you, why I'm into ornamentals because I found I had no luck with, well, I shouldn't say that. Where I am now, I find I have no luck with the vegetable gardens. Prior to that, where I lived before, I had luck. I didn't have luck with the iguanas, but I did get, outside of that, in terms of nearly everything, the melangen, the sweet peppers, the seasoning peppers and all that. Where I am now, I planted the sweet peppers, the okra, the melon, about 5 different plants. But now you're talking about the sun. Guess what? They were planted, and I can see where I'm sitting, that space under the mango tree. And I understand now, as you're saying that. And I couldn't understand because I swear I had the perfect soil and it's shaded from all this heat.
Sun.
So that's why. So I should move them.
no,
I
that's
should
why-
replant now that I'm planning to restart a small vegetable. I think you have convinced me to go back to especially the seasoning, the herbs. I
Okay.
really want to do a herb garden now.
All right. That's
Right?
why I said,
So for herbs, still need all that sun?
okay, that's why I said it's important. That's where the planning comes in. You have to walk around your home, your area, and see what you have. All right. So if you have a very shaded area, therefore you could do like the herbs, right?
So I should now do the herbs in that shaded area.
Right. Whereas if you have sunlight,
Uh-huh.
right, you could do the flowering type of vegetables because they need this sunlight to flower to help with the flowering. Okay.
Okay. Could
So
you
the-
give an example then of what you would refer to? I understand the herbs. What would you refer to as the flowering type of vegetables for the that
Tomatoes,
need that sunlight?
tomatoes, sweet potato, sweet peppers, hot peppers,
Those are not
okra.
herbs.
No,
right?
no, I understand the herbs. I said I understand the herbs for the, but I
Mhm.
wanted to have an example for those that need all the sunlight. That's what he's calling it.
Everything else.
Any vegetable that flowers.
That's all. Once it's
Okay.
started flowering,
Tomatoes, sweet peppers, okra, hot peppers, pimento.
No, why I
peppers.
ask, because I know there are some herbs that have some flowers.
But yeah, I know, I understand that, but they normally classify them under the herb part of it, not really. as
Okay,
a-
great. All right. So anything outside of that need the hot sun.
Yeah, that's why you
Okay.
really need to plan, because once you plan and you walk around your yard, for example, okay, you walk around your yard, then you know where have more sun, where doesn't have, where it's shaded.
mhm.
Right? And
Okay.
good wind circulation is important because the more air that passes through your plants, it reduces the humidity and it reduces the problems, especially with fungal problems. So that's
Okay.
why the planning, you need to walk around your whole area, look at it, choose a site, and once you
Wait.
choose your site,
Wait,
then you move from
wait.
there.
Just now, I have an issue with, I still have to deal with the sun business. and I
Yeah.
really, all right, so my house and the way my gardens are, it's directly east-west. So
Right.
I get morning sun and evening sun. And where the garden is, you'll get most of it, depending on whether the sun is winter or summer, the sun is in the north or the south or the whatever it is. So when we say a maximum of 6 hours direct sunlight, especially for flowering plants, when does the 6 hours start? Sunrise, 6 o'clock,
Anytime,
7
yeah.
o'clock?
So long as you get about the 6 hours, the plants will adapt accordingly. I'll give you an example. Where I have my garden right now,
Mhm.
right? There's a certain next door, the neighbor had a lot of shade. Where the tomatoes are in the sunlight, they are the ones that are bearing. Right? Where the tomatoes are in the shaded area, they're looking for sunlight, so they're just growing leggy, and not flowering. So they need the sunlight in order to help initiate the flowering process.
So my son, because I'm now into grades of sun. So
yeah,
6 to 9 o'clock sun is not 9 to 12 o'clock sun, is not 12 to 3 o'clock sun, is not 3 to 6 o'clock sun. So is any
Correct.
6 of those hours is good enough for the plant?
yeah. I
Or
would say
some are
with every-
preferable?
No. So long as it gets the sunlight. It's important
Okay.
to get the sunlight. The other parts could add, if it's getting too much sunlight, then you just need to water it a little more to keep the plants turgid, etc. But it
Okay.
needs the sunlight. If it doesn't get the sunlight, it will just grow looking for light. That's how plants are,
Okay.
right? And it wouldn't flower.
So if half
that's
the
why
day,
in
one
the-
part of the house is usually in shade, but it will get, say, 6 o'clock to 12 o'clock sun. And then the other half of the house goes into shade. When the sun goes into the evening sun part, then I will have some plants getting morning hot sun, early cool, later time hot sun. And then the other part of the house will be, first sun will be hot and the latter sun will be cool. But they're still getting enough sun.
You
Hope
get
I'm
enough
not
sun.
confusing people.
No. So long as it needs sunlight, it needs bright light.
Not under
Yeah,
the,
because I understand that now. Because when you're talking, I was thinking if I should only use one side of the house, of the backyard. But because maybe morning, they have the morning sun and evening sun. And I was thinking if some of the flowering plants, you hear would prefer the morning sun than the evening sun. Is that
Like
a
a
fact or it
baby.
doesn't make a
No,
difference?
the plants do not discriminate between morning sun and evening sun.
Good to hear that, because some people
So
tell
the
you, no,
temperature of the
it's not
sun
good for
doesn't
the morning
matter.
sun.
The
Yeah.
temperature doesn't matter, it's the light that matters.
It's the light that
Okay.
matters.
So it's not that one plant like a morning sun, and that's why it's looking so good. Okay.
No, 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 no. Right?
Okay.
Sunlight.
All right.
Sunlight is
Sun is
important.
sun. Okay, that's great.
Yeah.
All right.
And also to when you're doing it, that's why you need to plan it out. You need to walk around your yard and see where have sun, where don't have sun, where have shade, where it doesn't have shade, whether the trees have causing too much of shade in the areas. So you need to have all that part of the plan. So you remember you have to have, you want to do something. So part of
Yeah.
it is I'm going to do this here, I'm going to do that there and this here because of the environment which I have. Right? So everybody environment is different. So you work with the environment. That's where the planning comes in. And the same, everybody have to plan. You have to, you're going to a wedding down the road next 2-3 months. You have to plan what dress you're wearing, who is the hairdresser, what bag, going with what. In the same way, you have to plan for your plans. So you have to know your plans, what light, what wasn't like. As like Wilma said in the ornamental parts of it. Some plants could do direct sunlight, they flower, and some of them need shaded areas. But the
What
plants
plants need shade? And what is shade? Shade would be under the tree, next to the house.
Yeah.
No
Shade would be
direct
like past.
sunlight.
No, not direct sunlight. It's like under a mango tree or a tree that you have in the house, or maybe where you're located, you're not getting any or much direct sunlight. So that area will be more or less shaded. Because remember,
Okay.
it's celery, parsley, thyme, etc., lettuce, pak choy, they're basically green. Okay? So they just need shaded areas, that's all.
And when you so and so when you have the wind, the good air circulation, it just means that you give your plant enough space,
Correct.
you know, that it won't be cluttered. You know, sometimes we just plant without thinking of spacing. So it's when you talk about good air circulation, you mean that we should space them out properly?
Yeah, spaced properly. It comes down to a whole learning process because with the planning, you'll recognize that last time I planted this thing too close, and this is what happened.
Yeah, I know.
We try it a little wider this time. So it's a
It's
learning
spread and one
process.
leaf touching the other.
Yeah, it's a learning process as you go along all the time. That is what is important. So
Okay.
you keep monitoring your plants, etc.
On the spacing and wind issue, now I know that you, and because I've done some of your stuff, and a lot of people say, stay away from cabbage, the brassicas. Not so much cauliflower and the others, but I had an experience of excitedly buying one set of cabbage plants and planting them about, don't laugh, 8 inches apart. You know, because cabbage grows to about 18 inches.
Yeah.
Everybody jam up. And anytime
Yeah.
you touch the plants, there's one set of flies coming out. Is that a spacing area? So I blocked out the wind and everything like that. It had sun.
No, again, some plants, I wouldn't recommend people plant certain like cabbage and cauliflower. I wouldn't plant those things at home because the amount of insects that like cabbage and cauliflower, etc., it's maybe cheaper to buy it outside than to try and grow it at home because now you have to control all those pests and diseases. That's why it's important in planting. Oh, what you could do is mix up everything. A celery, a chive, Spanish thyme, tomato, sweet pepper, everything. And that helps to some extent minimize marigolds also, minimize the pest and disease problem.
All right. So my
Because
cabbage crowd was not about they didn't get enough air. It's just that the
No.
insects just love these things. Okay.
Yeah.
And you had plenty for them to gather around.
Choice of plant. The next point. Choose local vegetables. What
Yes,
is
choose local. Again, the reason for choosing local vegetables, we go away and we see a lot of nice tomatoes and almanacs, calendars, and a whole catalogs on tomatoes. Wow, right? But those are for temperate countries, not for our local conditions. So we have to look for varieties that could tolerate, like they have to tomato varieties like Heat Master, I think it's one, which could tolerate the sun.
But Carl, the seeds are here. You go into the plant shop. You get the seeds in the plant shop in Trinidad.
Yeah.
So They're selling seeds that that can't grow here.
No, most of the time they sell what grow here, but sometimes people go in a catalog, they look at a catalog and they want that plant because that variety look at a nice big tomato, right? But it's not suited to our temperatures here. If you notice, within recent years, what they have been doing with the catalogs is primarily, if something is hit, they put a little red arrow, a little red mark or something that is suited to high temperatures.
And when you say a catalog, what are you referring to?
Like a fruit and vegetable catalog, a flower catalog with flowering plants, what you get from abroad, like the seed.
But
that catalog.
Carl, when I started with the vegetable garden and I go into the plant shop, not so much catalog, but they have the seeds and they have the nice big picture at the side, you know, showing you how beautiful it would look. And that was my thing. I just looking for anything that not close to local, you know, the nice pretty color, the shape and all that. Nothing worked. And let me tell you, I read the directions at the back because you can't set them out one time. You have to put them in a little trough and I put a thing and I did all the things in it. And I kept watching. And as they grew a bit and I transplant them, that was the end of it. So I know I'm agreeing though, you're not catching me again. Stay away from some of those.
Most of the plant shops will sell varieties that are suited to our temperatures. But there are some people when they go abroad, they look for those foreign.
Oh yes, those that there.
And they want to bring that down here. And
I agree.
And you know.
Oh wait, we buy the imported vegetables, so why can't we plant it? It will be cheaper.
Well, that's the exact thing. So what I would look for is the imported vegetable seeds.
No, but you see, you have to look for local varieties and get accustomed to it. You know what I mean? You don't have to.
No, okay. I you know, you learn as you go along. So I'm agreeing with you on that point that look for the local ones and those that can grow within our temperature.
Our environment, 10 to 11 degrees north latitude, right?
Yeah.
You know?
By the time we finish here, we're shutting down people plant business, you know, we have to be careful.
No, what we're doing in terms of the education, we're reading more and we're asking more questions. Because I can tell you one thing, you go in and you just look at it pretty and you go and you pay for it. You tend not to ask the question. Exactly, maybe we don't want to hear, that it can't grow. But you know, I think we should seek some information, more information.
I'll give you an example. Down at the farm where I work, right? You had the greenhouses. And they had one tomato variety called Geronimo. Okay? It's a beefsteak tomato. Yeah? That tomato could stand up 40 degrees centigrade. Okay? And survive and grow beautifully. You will not get the red color because the higher the temperatures, the color tends to fade. The lycopene in the tomatoes, it diminishes. So the tomato will look orange in color. But that tomato could stand up to 40, 42 degrees.
But we wouldn't want it. We'll find it looking
red,
pink.
Big and orange.
Yeah, we
big and red.
It's look pinkish. So we said, no, that can't be good.
Yeah.
The other thing with tomato, let me ask you on tomatoes. I like the idea of cherry tomatoes because I find it looking nice in a salad. And I read somewhere that that's really not that nutritious, you know, because that is really the tomatoes and getting chance to, it's sort of stunting the growth, more or less. Is that a fact?
No, it's a variety. Just like you have long mango, starch mango, doodles, it's just a variety.
Yeah.
So some people like it cherry tomatoes because they could actually put them into the a salad.
Right.
Or you're walking around in your garden, you just pop one or two in your mouth.
They look real pretty.
And you don't have to spoil it about cut tomato in your fridge. You have, a nice one at a time.
So that's the one I now I'm going to replant, but I have to get an area with sun.
6 hours of sun.
Yeah. At least I say 4 to 6 hours. 4 to 6, yeah. 6 will be better, but 4 to 6.
Yes.
And I'm glad you said that in terms of planning and being aware, because my goal for my garden right now is shade. I love the idea of a lot of plants and no sun at all, right? So don't care what time of the day I go out, I want it to be nice and cool. And if I want that, I have to find some other space for my
Jennifer's garden, she's not
kitchen
saying
garden.
it. Jennifer's garden is an extension of her patio backyard spa, therapeutic relaxation,
Lots of
rejuvenation.
shade, lots of plants, no sun coming through those leaves.
It's not a
Well,
dig on a cat garden. She's not going inside to rest after gardening. The gardening is the rest and recuperation.
But tell me something. So someone like me who may like that, then is it advisable to have your plant containers, have a what do you call it, set it up and just put it in an area where it will get sun. It may be some other part of the house, the front as against the back where it's shaded. What would you suggest?
Yeah.
Can you do that instead?
you can use containers any way you want to use them. It's just the type of containers. Whether it's a metallic container or you could have a half a barrel as a container, right? Where you're planting only a lot of different type of fruit trees, etc. So you have to look at the whether the wood or clay or metal. If you're using those, you're going to do grow boxes. I would recommend the 6 by 8 by 16 grow blocks, because the other ones, the 4 by 8 by 16, the 4 is too narrow. The 8 by 8 by 16 is too big and heavy, right? But the 6 by 8 by 16 is ideal, right? So you could use those, and then you could put in the you could put your plants like celery, chive, etc. in the holes of the blocks. So you have a big grow box to put the main plants, but in the holes of the grow boxes, like on the slide here, what you see, like the tomatoes in the center, but each hole could have a plant.
Okay.
Right? So you're using maximum space all the time. This is basically for physical challenge.
Go back to the other one.
You know what I mean? But go back to the one with the containers. All right? Or you could use like let's say the cabbage, the pak choy, for example, the second slide coming down. Right? You get a bigger head with one plant in a like a paint bucket size.
Oh yeah, okay, I'm seeing that. Yeah.
Right? Or like on the one on the top, you could use the blue water bottles, those kind of containers, the 4 liters. You could use those like again for the celery, chive, parsley, etc. Even kale could work in those.
It had to be pretty. It had to be pretty.
So Carl, I saw in one of the notes you had about you can use hanging baskets. So I have that. I like that idea. The hanging baskets for what would be recommend for the hanging baskets?
Jennifer, we discovering all kind of things, myths being debunked.
I'm telling you, but I am encouraged. I'm really encouraged to start my herb garden.
Nice.
So I'm going to do that. And a lot of tips, a lot of really, really great information coming from Karl to encourage us to get started. Yeah.
And we all know now, I mean, we ended that gardening discussion and went into this whole thing of soil, and you can see why everybody needs to be back here next week, because, hey, and by the way, you'll see Jennifer and us in the same thing, because this is being recorded in one full session.
Yeah.
We had to split it into 2. It was just too much to cheat you of the time and place. But we also, while you anticipate soil, we have another thing we have to anticipate on the 21st of June, Jennifer. Did everyone see?
Yes, remember the Connections 50 Plus Riverline coming up. And that's at Matura.
Yes.
So we have the clip, a little replay of the clip, but we look forward to you telling your friends and getting yourself all ready for our river line. Yes.
Okie dokie. So until next week, when we are into the soil, we'll see you then. Bye.
Bye. Yes, we have our event coming up in June. You know, you all have been asking since the last event. When is the next event? That event is on the 21st, Friday, the 21st of June. And guess what it is? It's a river lime. Yeah. You know, we actually, Terrian and I visited the site. We went to Trini River Lime in Matura. So we went to take some pics and to share it with you to get you all excited about this coming event. Yeah.
So look forward to that. Book your dates.
50+ Tribe and follow us from Trinidad and Tobago and the Caribbean.
Thank you for joining us on this Connections 50+ 5.8G Alive show.
We hope you enjoyed the lively conversation and look forward to seeing you next week.
Don't forget to like our Facebook page and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
We really love getting your feedback. Bye for now.